Hey guys, this is our integration media project for Core 400. Today we're going to talk about how do we influence the world. My name is Bruce Gumbert and this is
Ashley Bondi.
And so let's jump right into this. Ashley, let's just jump into the first question.
Okay.
When did you realize the world was not a perfect place?
Oh, I can pick out so many stories, a couple I shared in class. But I think the first time I really realized that the world, and not just like my family wasn't perfect or like, kids at school were mean. The first time I realized that the world, the whole, like the globe, was imperfect. Forgive me if it's like boring or cheesy, but was 9/11. I think that's something that for like our entire generation, like how old were you? Were you like 10?
I was in 5th grade.
You were in 5th grade,
Yeah.
so like 10 or 11?
Yep.
I was 9. And, war and, struggle was something that you read about in history books. It wasn't something that was real to me until 9/11 happened.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
To go along with that, because I didn't really think about that. When I was in 5th grade, which, the story I was going to tell you, this probably predates it, a little bit, but this definitely makes a good impression on a kid in 5th grade. I was in the 5th grade library, and I was the only student to know that this happened. The news was on in the library. And I just ran down during our reading time to get a new book, and that was on the news, and I didn't understand it at all. And as soon as the librarian realized I was watching the TV, she turned it off. And, you go home, and my mom's crying, my dad's tearing up, everyone's kind of holding each other. And that was the first time that I really got to see that people don't like the way the United States lives. And we got to, there was religious reasons for what the attack on 9/11. There was political reasons for the attack on 9/11. And that definitely was one of the most powerful moments for me to realize that. And if my dad wasn't who he is, he would have gotten severely hurt, if not, put in the hospital or maybe even killed. And that probably was the first memory of hate I ever saw.
Well, let's move on to the next question.
Yeah.
We spent enough time on this one.
Absolutely. A whole lot of time.
What are some issues in gray matters that you've struggled with?
Well, before coming to Spring Arbor, I turned 21. I was 21 for a full year. So, as a 21, that definitely went out for his 21st birthday and celebrated it how you would expect a 20-year-old gentleman bachelor to celebrate. I drank. I had a great time. Do I remember all of it? Yes. Did I have a rough morning? Absolutely. But after coming to Spring Arbor, it was really hard for me to get on this whole signing a contract and following it. And I didn't think much. I didn't think I was going to follow it or anything like that. And I've definitely had my battles with the contract. But the first week I was at Spring Arbor, I went to a brew queue at West Wind's Church, which is church at a brewery. And my now mother-in-law asked me if I'd like to have a beer with her, and I thought nothing of it. I ordered one, and as I went to pull my ID out to give it to the waitress, I noticed that my SAU ID card was right on top. And for something I thought, I wouldn't feel guilty if I broke the contract. I realized, wow, this kind of means something to me, and so I didn't drink that night. Now, there has been situations where I've casually, but there's no proof of that. But definitely, definitely there is.
Except this video.
This video definitely puts me at fault. But Gray Matters is good because it talks about, you know, the casualness of it, and you know, it's definitely a gray matter area because it was church and a brewery.
It's funny because, you know, I have this thing called Meetup for like Ann Arbor, and one of the groups I'm part of is Bible and a Brew.
Yeah.
And I don't think alcohol is bad. I mean, if it was bad and if it was a sin to encounter alcohol, Jesus wouldn't have, you know, filled the barrels at that wedding in Galilee. And, you know, everybody's going to have a different take on it. You know, if you're an alcoholic, you probably should drink.
Oh, absolutely.
In fact, we can take the probably out of that statement. But it's up to your discretion. If it's better for you not to, if that's something that causes you to stumble, then you shouldn't do it. Absolutely. But if it's something that's not an issue for you and you're able to engage in it freely, then, you know, there shouldn't be an issue. But one thing that I struggled with more and was of the most benefit and really great matters to me was the section about food and the biblical enjoyment of food. Actually, I struggled with an eating disorder for about 5.5 years of my life. And as a result of it, like, I've put on like more weight than I ever had before. That's something that I'm battling right now, even still. So knowing like it's okay to enjoy your meals, but also to know that you have to take care of your temple, because you know our bodies are supposed to be resting places for the Holy Spirit, and so that's something that I'm currently struggling with, and the part of the book that hit me most. We also read Strength Finders, and we took the quizzes. What did you take away from the quiz most? Like, what were your strengths, and what are you taking away from that experience, reading the book and taking the quiz?
So my top 5 themes were context, adaptability, individualization, realtor, and futuristic. What I took away is that I agree with my results. One place I differed was that none of these were, how would you say, influential roles? Yeah,
under the themes of leadership in StrengthsFinders, all the themes are under larger things like executing, influencing, relationship, strategical thinking. All the themes are under those different, like, bigger themes.
Oh, and none of mine fell under leadership, correct?
None of yours fell under influencing. Or executing. Okay,
and you know, and part of me, I agree with my personality traits, the themes I came up with, but my role that for my future and currently as a coach, I think it's a very influential position. Especially, I mean, we have to go in and we have to show these kids how to play a sport, but also we have to be models for what we believe they should become as adults. And as I mentioned before we started filming the video, as a coach, every so often you realize that a certain group or a certain class, so in this situation, the sophomore class currently that I coach, they have their certain coaches. Like when I was in school, the head coach was my favorite coach, and that was everybody's favorite coach in my grade. And and then the assistant coach was the freshman's favorite group. Well, currently I found that the age group that really connects with me is the sophomore group. I would have to say that if they had to pick a coach, I think they would, and I hope they would. You know, Coach Gumbert, that's our guy. He's awesome, and they're a great group of kids. They have great education. They know what they have to do. They're very physical. They're very tough mentally as well, and they have great ethics. which is awesome. And I think that is so important as a person in my position to portray a position where I'm authoritative, but also I am able to show the kids that, hey, I have these values. And maybe I can't preach it because it's at a public school, but I can definitely show how I feel that we should act as a good Christian.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where I differed from these themes. I definitely think these themes, I mean, they definitely hit me on the head, but I definitely find that I can be more influential than the test says I am. Okay. How did you turn out in yours?
Interestingly enough, my first strength was restorative, and that's under the umbrella of the executing things.
Okay.
But all of the other ones fell under relationship. My first one was restorative. My second one was adaptability, followed by connectedness, individualization, and includer. See, for me, my sphere of influence is more than just where I live, because I have a YouTube channel. And so...
Want to give a plug?
Yeah, go check it out. Anyway, I don't know, I just had to be very careful about what comes out of my mouth. I also have a blog, the things that I type. So I edit like crazy.
Okay.
And, just trying to be that salt and light, as best I can. How do they help me? The Strengths Finder experience, reading the book and taking the test, made me realize, or rather forced me to acknowledge the things I'm good at, because I'm much better at identifying my flaws. And that's how I identify I made progress or not, where I need to work on. That's the gist of it, pretty much.
No, that's great. That's great. So what is your sphere of influence?
Like I said, a YouTube channel. But so it goes just beyond like the local level for that. As far as my job, right now, pretty much a caretaker. The best thing that I can do in that situation is using my relationship strengths to bond with the residents and the families, make them feel like, their loved ones are in a great place and that they're receiving the best care possible. And, taking care of other children of God. That's the best way that I can use my strengths, and that sphere of influence is to give the best care possible and build relationships with those around me, because our God is a relational God.
Absolutely. For me, I mean, as I said, I coach, but where my sphere lands, it is going to be more local. But somewhere where I'm hoping to expand is I love travel. I've been to almost 20 countries. And
you put me to shame.
I'm sorry. I'm a very fortunate guy.
Jelly over here.
But in all of my travels, none of them has been any type of mission work, except for the last one. The last trip I went to Costa Rica for fun, vacation, resort. It was beautiful. But the resort we chose, we didn't really know the area, so we set it up with the resort, and they picked us up at the airport, put us on a smaller plane, that put us on a smaller plane, that took us on a 1.5-hour dirt road drive that ended up a mile on the beach to get to our resort. It was ridiculous. But the small village that we were at had a little schoolhouse. Now this schoolhouse was a outdoor building with no windows. It was all cement. There was no windows, no walls, other than the cement barriers that still let any elements through. And it was all barred up like a prison. But we felt the need to, after the end of the trip, to do something for that school. So any money that we had left over from the trip for souvenirs or anything like that, we decided that we were going to just give it all to them. Because, going on a vacation, we decided that, this would be our vacation fund. And this is, we call it our fake money because, we put it towards vacation. But we were like, well, instead of getting this souvenir, instead of doing this, why don't we just give it to the school? And so we ended up giving the school, we gave them for a couple 20-some-year-olds, we gave them a substantial amount of money, and it felt so good. And now that I'm home, I want to try and incorporate that into all of my travels for the future. And like you mentioned, you're going to Guatemala for, what did you say, a couple weeks?
Semester abroad.
Oh my God. Which I don't know if I could do that. But now I'm looking at a missions trip to Guatemala in June. And I think that's going to be a great start, even if it's just pick things up and put them down, I'm still going to do it. And I think that's a great way of showing who I am and what I can do to better my life, to better others' lives, and to hopefully help others find God like I have, I think that it's a great opportunity. So I hope, as much as local as my sphere is going to be for influencing the world, I definitely think there's great opportunities to expand to a global way. But that was my thought on it.
All right, well, I guess this concludes our little talk.
It's been a great talk. I think it's been beneficial for me to get some of these thoughts out instead of, trying to talk it out with myself and put them on paper. I think this has been very, very beneficial.
Great.
I think we got some songs for you too in a little bit.
No, they're going to be in the...
Oh, we're just going to throw them in there, so we're just going to edit this part right off.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, deuces.